Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Rohit Gautam. So as promised into the last video that we are going to see how you can replace the XSS payloads as well into our script that we made. So let me just show the script. So this was the script that we made into the last video wherein we were able to find XSS through automated way wherein we were able to do the mass scaling of XSS for all the URLs for any particular host using the Wayback URLs. Alright, now there is a challenge that we may face, which is this particular payload which we are replacing using QS replace. There may be chances that any particular website is simply blocking the script or maybe blocking the confirm. So at that time we cannot use script tags. So if you are testing the URLs on which the developer has blocked the script tags, at that particular time we may not get the accurate results that we want, and we may end up missing some of the critical vulnerabilities into those URLs. Now, to overcome this, what we are going to do is we are not going to hard code the payload as we did into the last video. Instead of this, we want to dynamically generate payloads for our target. So this is what we are going to do. But before doing that, let's understand first thing. So I have broken down this video into two parts, the first part and the second part. So let's understand what is the first part. So in the first part, we all know to find a XSS, we need to find a parameters, and we already have all the parameters from Wayback URLs with the help of GF XSS patterns, or we can do grep equals to as well and then clear the clutter by doing a egrep IV. Now when we have the parameters, we just need to check whether special characters work or not. If our special characters are not filtered and they reflect back as it is into the response, then we may confirm, okay, so now there's a need to put a XSS payload over there, and we may need to put a valid XSS payload, or we may need to balance it. But that is the second part, to put a valid XSS payload. First of all, we need to identify those vulnerable parameters, which is the step number 1, where special characters are not blocked or they are not filtered. They appear to be reflected as it is into the response, and this way we can narrow down our scope from all the URLs that we get from the Wayback URLs. For instance, let's say for our target, we have got 1000 URLs from the Wayback, and after doing a grep equals to and doing a egrep, we have sorted our URLs to, let's say, a random number 500. Out of those 500 URLs, obviously we do not want to send this hard-coded payload to each URL which contains a parameter or which contains equals to. So now we only need to test those particular parameters which do not filter special characters. So we are going to do this, which is the first step, and check which are the vulnerable parameters which do not filter the parameters or special characters. And after we have done this step, we are going to narrow down our scope from those 500 to, let's say, 50 particular URLs with vulnerable parameters, and now we are going to put XSS payloads, which will be dynamic XSS payloads, into those particular URLs. So obviously we have broken down our URLs from 1000 to 50, and this is actually without sending a lot of payloads or brute forcing payloads to the target. We are being nice to the server by not attacking all those 1000 URLs and triggering the WAF or the IDS IPS which has been established onto the particular server. Alright, now let's get to work. Enough of talking, and let's see how can we do this. So I have basically created a very simple script that we are going to understand, and as per the feedback I got, I'm going to explain each part of the script that I'm going to run onto the terminal using some comments, which will be easy for every one of you to understand. Alright, so the first thing is reading the test PHP Wayback URL list. What is this list? This is nothing fancy. We have got this from Wayback URLs. So this is the output of Wayback URLs for any specific target that I have saved into a file. Alright. Now the second thing that we are going to do is we are going to run KXSS onto this. Now what the hell is KXSS? A new tool that we are going to see. So let me go to KXSS, and again this is a very useful tool which is written by Tom Nom Nom. The main purpose of this particular tool is this: for any parameters that has been passed, the append to check that once we really are sure are reflected, start trying special characters to these particular characters. If I would like to sum up, basically KXSS tries to input some of the special characters into those URLs and checks if they get reflected as it is or no. So we are going to use KXSS on all those particular URL parameters, and we are going to narrow down the number of URLs so we get better results and high success rate. Now when we run KXSS, let me show you how will be the output that we will get. So let me go to the terminal and let me show you what is the output that we get from this particular tool. So as you can see, these are the number of URLs. The number of URLs into this particular file that we got from Wayback is around 450. Out of those URLs, we have drastically narrowed down the URLs which are vulnerable, or the parameters are not filtering the special characters which have been given. So this is around 10 URLs that we have got which does not filter the particular parameters and reflect them as it is. Now from this you can see this is the output that we are getting, and the output is till here, and you can see URL colon is added at the start, and at the end param pp, which says this particular parameter is unfiltered and it is not filtering these special characters, which is this character, double quote, single quote, and these angular braces. Alright, so we have identified the URLs. Now we are going to use these particular URLs, but to use this output we need to remove all this clutter. We do not want this param and this part, as well as we do not want this part. Obviously doing this manually is a tedious job and we cannot do this. For now we have less number of URLs, so obviously you can do it manually. But when you have large number of URLs for a high value target like Uber or PayPal or Google, at that time we cannot do it manually. So what I have done is I am going to sed, which is basically I'm going to remove everything after equals to. So which is over here, as you can see, I'm going to remove everything after this equals to, which is this part. And when I'm removing everything after equals to, I'm going to replace that with a new equals to. If I do not do this, this equals to will also get removed from here. So let me show you how does this look like. Let me just hit enter, and you will be able to see these URLs which have this part removed, which is unnecessary for me because I want the pure URLs from this, which I can save and feed to any other tool that I want. And if I do not remove this, or let's say if I do not add equals to over here, what will happen? It is just going to remove equals to as well. Basically it is finding this and replacing with a space. As you can see, now we want equals to as well added, because that signifies that these are the parameters and there is something which is going to be passed into this parameters, which are some of the values. Alright, so I hope this is clear till here. Now let's move ahead, and we do not want this part as well, which is URL equals to, and there is a space over here. So we are going to remove this part as well. So we are going to use this sed command, and let me hit enter. So when I hit enter, this part is also removed from this URLs, and now I have some of the URLs which are into pure plain format, which I can use to give as a standard input to any other tool, or I can utilize this later on. And I know these are the vulnerable parameters which do not filter special characters. Remember, you need to make a space over here. If you do not make a space over here, then it will only find URL colon and replace with a space, but it will not replace this particular space. Let me show you. As you can see, there is a space added over here, and this type of output cannot be supplied to other tools. I managed to identify this because the tool that we are going to use further for making dynamic payloads does not like spaces at the beginning of the URLs. So remember, you just need to make a space over here. We have already seen because it was a space over here, so we need to remove that. Sounds perfect till here. Now we have a good list of URLs which contains parameters, and those parameters are vulnerable, or they do not simply filter anything when some special characters are passed into them. Alright, now we are going to use a tool which is known as Delphox, a very good and a very awesome tool. So you can find it over here. Again, the installation is very simple. You can download it from the releases in the assets section. Just go here and you will be able to download it for Linux, Windows, or whatever version you are onto. You can also install it using Go. If you have Go installed into your computer and Go path properly set, then you can just use Go get. Yes, you can get it through Go get. There is a command through which you can get it. Alright, if you're not able to do it, you can simply download the whole GitHub repository and then you can build it from scratch. Alright, so once you have Delphox installed into a computer, in case you feel any issues into the installation of this, you can always post it into the comment section. So I assume you are able to install Delphox now. So after we have Delphox into our computer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass all these URLs to Delphox, and I'm going to type pipe. Pipe basically means to take the standard input and give it to Delphox, or basically we are using the pipeline mode. Now you can see the scan has successfully started, and Delphox is able to dynamically identify a payload which works onto those specific URL parameters which we have identified to be vulnerable or which are not filtering special characters. As you can see, we have V means vulnerable. It has triggered a XSS payload, and this is the payload which it has created. So to confirm, what we can do is we can see a POC here as well. So I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste it into my browser. So let me just show you over here. Let me go paste it over here and let's wait for a XSS. And you can see we have got a successful XSS over here. Alright, perfect. We are able to do and we are able to achieve what we wanted to do. We have broken down all the URLs from 1000 to 2510 in our test PHP case till 10, and we have filtered, identified vulnerable parameters and given to Delphox for dynamic payload building. One more thing I want to say, guys, which is I was able to identify, if you see over here, for this particular file which contains all the URLs for a specific program. I'm going to test on only the first 100 URLs. So I've given the same command and I've given it to Delphox pipe. Remember, here I'm just testing the first 100 URLs from the target that I have saved the URLs into. And you can see I was able to get a vulnerable URL or a vulnerable parameter, which is UTM source. We have already identified this. UTM source is a vulnerable parameter into our last video. Let's confirm this if you are able to get this. So I'm just going to copy this, go back here, go here and paste it. So I've already pasted it, and let me just reload this to confirm if we get a XSS over here. And you can see we have got a XSS, which confirms that we are able to identify a perfect XSS over here. So I hope this is clear till now. Now, one bonus tip for this, Delphox also supports injecting Blind XSS payload. For those who do not know about Blind XSS, in case of Blind XSS, when you have entered your payload to the particular server, you may not immediately get a XSS onto your browser window, and it may trigger at a later point of time. So for that, how to test it? You just need to create an account on XSS Hunter. So you can simply create an account on XSS Hunter. It's totally free of cost. Once you have created your account and verified your account, you can see your payloads over here. So these are all the payloads that will be given. Now you can see this is a very simple payload, and I will get a domain. As you can see, my domain is https://rohitgautam.xss.hunter. Now I need to give this payload at any place, and if there is a valid XSS, then I'm going to get an alert over here, which is XSS fires. So let me show you. I have got this particular alert of test PHP, and this is the report. Report also contains a screenshot of the particular page, and this is the whole report, which contains user IP address, execution origin, user agent, DOM, and a markdown report, which you can utilize if you need to submit to any particular program. For submitting markdown reports, I use stack edit. You can also use stack edit. Just go to stack edit and you can just click on edit, replace everything with the markdown editor that you have got from there, and just click on this I button, and you will be able to get a good looking XSS Hunter report, and you can simply put this into a Word or document format and send it to the particular program. Perfect. Now, how to use the Blind XSS module of Delphox? It is very simple. You just need to add -b and add your target server name. Delphox is automatically going to add this into its own dynamic generated payloads. So it will automatically generate your server's address into its own dynamic generated payloads, and it is going to try these payloads onto those particular 10 URLs that we have identified to be vulnerable, which were here, as we have got this particular URLs to be vulnerable. So in case they are not vulnerable to reflected XSS but reflected to Blind XSS, then a XSS is going to get triggered at your XSS Hunter page. You just need to log in over here. You also get email notifications in case there is a XSS alerted. At that time, you can just come over here and see if there is a XSS alert, make a markdown report and submit to the specific program. So I hope this is clear with everyone, and you can utilize this particular technique or strategy to identify a lot of XSS into many programs. We are doing this in which we are just not brute forcing all the payloads into all the particular parameters, which basically makes our workflow or methodology much more clear and strong, because we are being nice to the server and we are only identifying those particular parameters which do not filter special characters, and we are only targeting them. Oh yes, I forgot to tell you that I have been compiling all the particular parameters that I see in most of the HackerOne reports or any other reports which have been written by any security researchers on many of the articles that I identify on blog post, and I have been compiling all those particular parameters, and I'm making a XSS pattern which I will release after some time. As you can see, for one of that basic example, this is one of the report which is submitted to Uber, and you can see over here the vulnerable parameter is UTM source, UTM medium, UTM campaign. This is just not specifically limited to one of this report. I have seen these types of common patterns or parameters that are being used in many particular programs that are identified to be vulnerable, but which are missing right now into the GF XSS pattern official repository. We have also seen these particular parameters to be vulnerable into the last video's program, that was Optimizely, which is again a bug crowd program. So yes, I have been compiling these all parameters, and I will release that particular parameter list very soon. So I hope you understood this particular video and you just learned how to do manual XSS and how you can generate using Dalfox. Thank you so much. And in case you manage to get a reward or bounty, do not forget to update me or mention me anywhere. I would love to be very happy. So you can just ping me or you can comment into the comment box that you have secured a bounty or a reward or Hall of Fame through this technique. Thank you everyone. Stay safe.